So, welcome back to the Web3 Insights, where we speak with innovators building the foundations of the decentralized future. Today's guest is Eli Ben-Sasson, who is the co-founder and CEO of Starkware and sits on the board of the Starknet Foundation, and also one of the most influential minds in the space of scalable cryptographic systems. As the co-inventor of Starks, Eli has helped shape how blockchain technology can scale without compromising on decentralization, transparency, or trust. In this episode, we're going to be discussing on the journey of building Starkware and Starknet and the scaling of Ethereum and soon Bitcoin, and also how cryptography plays a vital role in securing the next era of self-custodial finance. Eli, thank you so much for coming on.
Aaron, thank you so much for having me here.
Absolute pleasure. Eli, just to start, take us back to the beginning. What was the motivation behind Starkware and what made you believe that Starks would be the cornerstone of permissionless scaling?
Yeah, well, I invented some technology that I understood very well intuitively and like sort of deeply and emotionally that it is the solution for scaling blockchains. And I wanted to show it to the world and improve things. So it is the end game solution for scaling blockchains under the same premises that blockchains anyways operate under. So it's like no change to the premises and you still get global scale. This was the vision, and it took us a while to convince the world that this holds, but we're now there.
Yeah. Amazing. So Starknet is Starkware's permissionless layer 2 built to scale Ethereum. How has the network evolved since launch, and how are you seeing developers and users respond as well?
So the network, in terms of its capacity and technology and infrastructure, has developed spectacularly well. And the quality of products, the UX, the safety, the experience that people that are using it are getting is like nothing you'll find anywhere else in the world of blockchain. That's how it's been evolving. At the same time, the big challenge that we're still confronting is that there's not enough usage of this, and there's not enough mind share for all the fascinating things that Starknet is the only place you can find.
How specifically are developers and users responding to that as well?
So, well, developers, we have one of the largest populations of developers who are big believers in the technology and advancing it. In terms of users, initially we had a lot of usage. That usage has, I think, a little bit after the airdrop has tapered off, but now it's actually picking up again for different reasons. So initially, I think it was a lot of hype about the potential, but now I think it's more and more users who are just finding the infrastructure and the products on it superior. So there are things like Focus Tree, which is a consumer app with over 200,000 monthly active users that just last week launched basically all of its users onto Starknet. There are games that are fully on-chain like Ethereum, Prime Force, Ponziland, others that are launching on Starknet, and many of the players are actually people who are not, the typical Web3 characters. They're just gamers. So now we're seeing increasing usage coming from people who are a different sort of crowd and one that is more broad and diverse.
Yeah. So Ethereum scaling through layer 2s is now a proven path. What have been the biggest lessons from scaling Ethereum with Starks, and how Starknet has contributed to that success?
Well, by now, I think the Ethereum leadership has completely embraced ZK, and in particular, ZK Starks as the end game for all of the scaling solutions. Even if you go to the optimistic rollups, they are talking about how they want to add ZK proofs to their technology. And when they talk today, when people talk about ZK proofs, what they really mean is ZK Starks, actually Starks without the ZK. So sometimes things go by different names, but those in the field know that basically it's all this stuff. The Starknet was the first to invent productize, and show to the world. These are basically technology. This is a technology or a class of technologies that is post-quantum secure, has no trusted setup. The only thing that you need in order to operate it safely is the existence of some secure hash function. So these are basically Starks. And by now, if you look at all of the leading scaling solutions on Ethereum, you'll notice that all of them are using the ZK Starks. And this is thanks to our efforts. When we came out in 2017, no one thought that ZK is the way to scale, and certainly no one thought that ZK Starks are the right technology. But by now, we pretty much convinced the world that that's the case.
Yeah, no, of course. You've mentioned scaling Bitcoin is next. What would scaling Bitcoin look like using Starks, and how would that differ from the Ethereum approach?
So Bitcoin is the purest blockchain in terms of self-custody, censorship resistance, and just this very, very broad community and high level of decentralization. So it would mean you live your life on Bitcoin, but you do it in a way that really allows you to live your life, meaning you can pay at the grocery store, even if the grocer does not recognize or accept Bitcoin. And these are things you will be able to do very soon only on Starknet. You will be able to have savings in Bitcoin and generate yield. You will be able to borrow your local fiat currency against your Bitcoin. And all of this will be done in a fully self-custodial manner in the safest possible way, but with a Web2 kind of UX and in a way that is integrated into the general economy in a way that from the outside looks seamless. So this is what Bitcoin on Starknet will look like.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, it's definitely exciting for sure. At its core, blockchain is, about trust through math. How do you describe blockchain's role in delivering integrity to users and systems that were previously opaque or centralized?
Yeah, so I agree with you, Aaron. Satoshi's great invention is a way to have integrity in money, knowing that the right thing is done with your money and with other people's money, even when you're not watching. That's the definition of integrity.
Yeah.
And, well, in the old days, the integrity of money relied on the scarcity of gold and other precious metals. But in our modern computerized days, today the integrity of money relies on the integrity of nation states and banks and all kinds of very large institutions. Until Satoshi, upended the world and completely changed it into a more democratic, fairer, more self-empowered, self-sovereign kind of way in which integrity is based on all of us collectively operating and viewing the system which is used by this new money. So that's Bitcoin. So that's the integrity by math and game theoretic incentives that Satoshi invented. However, the one thing that was compromised is scale. Well, also UX, but mostly scale, right? Bitcoin famously operates at less than 10 transactions per second. Whereas if you want to put all of if you want to live your life on Bitcoin, you're going to need a system that can support 100,000 TPS or maybe 1 million transactions per second. Okay. And this is where my math comes in, our math comes in, because basically what Starks say is that if you have some nugget of integrity, some computer that is very trustworthy, that can verify Stark proofs, then you can exponentially expand the integrity of that system and enforce integrity on arbitrarily powerful centralized entities, even nation states and corporations. So you could have Bitcoin enforcing its level of integrity on nation states, on corporations. And that is exactly my invention and Starkware's innovation, right? In showing that you can, through the integrity of math, you can complement the integrity of the network that is Bitcoin and allow a much bigger sort of circumference that this integrity encompasses.
Yeah. As one of the original minds behind Starks, what's the untapped potential of cryptographic proof systems that we haven't yet unlocked at scale, do you think?
Well, there's several. The closest one is just having Bitcoin self-custody, but at fractions of a cent with good UX for all that you need in your life. Payments, lending, investing, living your life on Bitcoin. That's the more immediate thing. The more far-reaching untapped thing is that you actually own your life and you can use the power of Starks in order to be the source of truth for everything that relates to your life, Aaron. So you could be the credit scoring entity for your transactions. You can prove that you operated with integrity. You can prove that you earn a certain premium on your health insurance because you've only reported yay many days of sickness. And you can even do all of this without compromising or custodying your information and your life and your actions with any centralized party. That is the true potential of ZK Starks, which is further down the line, but we'll get there.
Yeah. That's just listening to you sort of talk about that there just gets me like really pumped for it. It's like, gosh,
Thank
we
you.
need this now.
Yes, we do. We do.
Yeah, we definitely need it now. So you mentioned a lot within there about scalability and UX. Some say scaling comes at a cost of user experience. But with layer twos like Starknet, is it possible to have both scalability and seamless UX?
Yes. And in fact, I advise you and the listeners to try downloading one of the Starknet wallets, like Bravos or Argent, or try playing one of the fully on-chain games like Ethereum or Prime Force, or just using one of these wallets, let's say, to do lightning payments on Bitcoin or do a whole bunch of activities, and you will see that you have a very, very smooth UX. Your funds are self-custodial, but you secure them with things like your biometrics, and you sign things with whatever facial ID or with your thumb, and so this already is something that exists today on Starknet. Yes, and the scale is of course massive, and the costs are, I think last I looked, were like 15 times cheaper than Arbitrum and Base. Fractions of a cent for any transaction that you do.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I'll definitely take a look at a few of them. I'll put some links in the comments as well below. You've said that the future of crypto belongs to self-custody, not exchanges. Why is that? And also, what will it take to shift the average user towards trustless ownership?
So if you take away self-custody from blockchain, then it's just an inferior technology to anything centralized, right? You will always get a better experience and, lower operational costs if you trust some big operator to act on your behalf. So take the conventional banking system or, centralized exchanges. Basically, since you trust them to custody all of your funds and operate on your behalf, you get something that is very seamless and with very low overhead. The one huge thing you're giving away is, of course, your control, right? You do not truly own anything that is custodied by someone other than you. And we've seen this time and again, right? The ability of nation states to block and censor, the shenanigans that some of these institutions go through. It's stuff that is being done with your funds. So without self-custody and decentralization, blockchains are just a useless technology and they have no future. So the only future I see for blockchains is through that. And yes, UX is a challenge, which is improving all the time, but it is something that needs to improve even more in order to have global mass adoption.
Sure. Well, are there any specific improvements that you feel is needed on the UX side, or anything we're lacking currently on that front to enhance it?
Well, I think with UX, it's just getting things to be a bit smoother, and also I would like part of UX, like what happens if you lose your phone or your whatever it is or something or other. I think what I would like to see is something where your base of trust is your network, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could just very easily specify that. And then as long as it's not the case that all of your network, your friends, your family, your spouse, your kids, your parents have been compromised, you can sort of rest assured that you will be able to restore true self-custody of all your assets. So I think that's one thing that could really, and you want this in a system that has extremely good UX and security. And that's one thing I would like to see that I think could really be the true way to have good UX for self-custody.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. Looking at uncheatable self-custody via cryptography, then, how can we use cryptographic proofs and systems like Starks to create truly uncheatable wallets, ZK rollups, and user custody tools?
Well, we're already doing that. So, whoever is operating Starknet, even if they would like to confiscate and steal all the funds and put them in their account, they are prevented by the math and integrity of math from doing this very thing. So in order to expand this to things like N wallets and so on, you would like client side proving to be done on the end machines like smartphones and personal computers. This is something that we're pushing the boundaries of. Our next generation prover, currently called Stu, but probably going to be renamed to something else, which is the fastest Stark prover out there, is coming into production over the next month or so. And right down the line, we're going to offer a lot more on the client side proving stuff that you can do, again, on your smartphone, on your personal computer at very fast speed.
Mm-hmm.
And now you'll have the ability to, let's say, prove that you played a game, honestly, that you conducted something on your computer, and done so with integrity.
Yeah. And in interoperability as well between layer ones and layers twos is also, well, becoming more important. It is obviously important now.
Yes.
How do you envision bridges evolving over the next few years, especially when it comes to trust minimized bridges secured by cryptographic proofs?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. So the essence of a bridge is there's this other universe, this parallel universe that your current system doesn't know of, but it has its own rules and it has its own protocol. And you would want to show in your world that something happened in that world. And once you know that it happened, this already opens the way for trustless bridges. And this begs for a Stark proof, because if you can Stark prove that something occurred in this other world, well, you can now consume it and you can trust it in your world. So that is exactly how all the main existing bridge between Ethereum and Starknet as a layer 2 operates. It's basically the layer 2 gets proofs of things that happened on the layer 1. And there are these things called storage proofs, which again, we innovated, and there's a team actually building on top of our technology called Herodotus that is already offering this as a product over Ethereum, where you can basically get proofs of any event that happened on Ethereum and then consume it on any other layer 2 or any other layer 1 that you would like. So I think that the end game of interoperability also goes through storage proofs. And proving using ZK Starks that something occurred in this other universe. And we're already taking steps along that, and having, people in our ecosystem have already developed products that do this very thing.
Amazing. And sort of looking ahead then, are there any sort of exciting milestones or plans, partnerships coming up for you guys this year?
Well, there's a lot of stuff lined up for Bitcoin and for end users on Bitcoin that if I had to summarize it with one word, maybe that word would be yield. If I had to use two words, I would say yield and usability of Bitcoin over Starknet. So there's a whole bunch of things lined up that I don't want to spill the beans on just yet. but
Yeah,
a lot to do for end users, and then even more for people who are developers of applications on top of Bitcoin. If they're looking for a place where they can, craft new products for end users, I think Starknet is the place where all the action is going to happen, and I'm very
amazing.
excited about that.
It sounds very exciting. So yeah, definitely one to watch for sure. And for developers and founders building today, what advice would you give to those who want to create applications that are not just scalable, but also preserve the core values of decentralization and trustlessness?
I would say, well, okay, do your own research. Like, which infrastructure are you going to be building on that is truly committed to decentralization, to self-custody, to the integrity of math and blockchain, and isn't necessarily just about the wild speculative aspects of blockchain that we're also familiar with. And if you look at it and do your research, there's really only one conclusion, and that is that Starknet is the only performant, fully verifiable, or succinctly verifiable blockchain technology out there. It's performant, meaning it is already operating at more than 1,000 TPS, and the scale is growing. And it is the only one that, in addition to being performant, so it is as performant as Solana and more, but in order to validate that everything that happened there happened with integrity, you do not need Solana-like configuration with I don't know how many processors and what kind of a monster machine. You can verify succinctly that everything that was done with integrity. And again, there's literally only one blockchain infrastructure that is performant, meaning it has the potential to reach global scale, is a blockchain in the true sense of the word, meaning it is fully committed to and advancing towards decentralization. And we will have full decentralization during next year, but already making strides to it, including staking, which is already launched. And by the end of the year, we will have block validation in a decentralized manner. So it is the only one that is truly performant, reaching global scale, truly decentralized and committed to decentralization, and then which can be succinctly verified from start to end on commonly available means like your laptop.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Well, there you have it. Eli, this has been an incredibly valuable conversation.
Thank you, Aaron.
No, thank you. Not just about scaling and cryptography, but about why blockchain matters on a deeper level. To protect integrity and empower individuals, and also rethink the foundations of trust as well. So, thank you so much for coming on. To follow Starknet's progress, or explore building with Starks, visit their website starknet.io, and go and search and follow them on all socials as well. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast if you're enjoying these insights for the front lines of Web3. And we will see you next time. Eli,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.